Okay, so joining us today is Jack Scott. Congratulations on finishing second in the Montane Winter Spine, Jack. How are you feeling?
Hey up, Wayne. Long time no speak.
I
Nice to see you,
know.
mate.
It's good to see you
Um,
again, mate.
yeah, I'm feeling great. It's been a really good. How long ago now? Two weeks, I think. Yeah, it's been a really good 2 or 3 weeks. Amazing, amazing opportunity, amazing race. Yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon with the performance and the outcome. It was everything I wanted, everything I expected. So it's fantastic.
Has the experience kind of hit home what you kind of put yourself through, and would you do it
Yeah.
again?
It's getting there now. Mentally, physically, I'm where I want to be. Mentally, I keep getting these nice flurries of flashbacks and memories and little things that I mentioned with the lads at work and my wife. And yeah, it's been brilliant. And I think, did you just ask if I'd do it again?
Yeah, would you do it again? Something like that. I know I saw you post like a
I thought
couple of
that
days
question would
after.
be at the end of the podcast, not straight away. I'm
Uh,
drinking that.
Might as well just basically warm you up, and then at the end of it, I'll mention it again and see how you feel after sharing the experience, you know. But yeah,
I'm
I think
drinking. I'm drinking out of a Pennine Way mug here, which was actually sent to me by Damien Hall. So I mean, I can't get away from. I can't get away from the bloody roots. Listen,
yeah,
I'm not in a position to make that decision now. I need to talk to Jess and talk to my wife and see. The thing is, Wayne, this year it just fitted. You know, I tried 3 years ago, 3 years ago before COVID, and I hadn't done enough hard things. I hadn't experienced life. I was coming out the back end of my gambling addiction and some struggles, and I wasn't where I needed to be to succeed or to finish. But this time was different. I went away. I met you on the Southern Upland Way, and I've done different things. I've experienced. I've grown up from a boy to a man, I guess. And yeah, this was the right time to perform and do a really long run. You know, it's not just stats and figures. When you go that deep and you're 200 miles in and you're chasing down Damien Hall and you know you can only sleep for 30 minutes at the next checkpoint, is like, well, you know, your mind goes to a weird place, a strange place, and a different sort of setting in your mind. And I was prepared for that this time. And if I did go back, you know, what am I going back for? Have I got to win the race? You know, I'm not sure that's the right approach to have, especially at my age and the journey I think I'm on. So yeah, we'll see. It's an amazing opportunity and amazing, and it does excite me. But yeah, sometimes it's not the easy option that you should take. So yeah, I've got a lot to think about regarding that.
I think that anybody that's been following you over the years will kind of be really impressed by just how you kind of put your head down in a race as well. I've kind of seen you when you're in that zone,
Yeah,
you know, and seeing how you kind of behave and how deep you go really. Um, as for
yeah,
people that would like to know a little bit more about yourself and in terms of how long you've been kind of running ultra marathons, that kind of thing, and what
yeah.
kind of races that you've done in the past, and even like uh, basically, you know, the FKTs that aren't actually a race as well. Can you tell us a
Mm.
little bit about that side of things?
Yeah. So I mean, I've been a long distance runner for 5 years, I guess. I've been a runner for six. The, the thing that lured me into running was more the distance and the time. So I moved fast through the distances, starting with a half marathon, and then 6 months down the line, I did a 50, and then you know it spiraled out of control. Can you run 100? Can you run 100 in the mountains? Can you run 100 in the mountains in the winter? You know that was the sort of process. Um, and yeah, I mean the first time I ever dealt with really long distances, you know, over 150 miles was the Offas Dyke race. Followed it runs up the whole of the Welsh the whole of the Welsh land basically from the south to the north. And I went to a weird place in that race, and I realised I can do no sleep and you know grit my teeth when it mattered. I managed to break the course record by 5.5 hours, coming in at under 50 hours for the 188 miles. It was really difficult, and then my mind sort of spiraled. You know, can you do that again? Can you go further? Like I just said, you know, I attempted the spine race and that didn't work 3 years ago. So I had to go away, do hard things. One of them hard things was during COVID, I did the Glendower Way in mid Wales, which was a record time, 135, 38 miles. And then recovery from that was electric and amazing. And I spoke to you, and we got up on the Southern Uplands and broke Mike Hartley's long-standing record. And probably coming off the back of the spine, what I did in Scotland was the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, you saw the state I was in at the end.
I think it's, I mean, kind of looking back now, I kind of think, well, it was in October. It was October, wasn't it?
I didn't do it the easy way, yeah. It was,
yeah, exactly. You know, it was pretty mushy underfoot. You know, it wasn't like bog like the Pennine Way, but
the light as well, Wayne. You know, the difference with the light from doing it in June or July was
yeah, 100%. I reckon that you'd definitely kind of knock a fair bit of time off that. Sorry, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and going back to that, I do think my time for that is beatable, and and it'd be amazing for someone to have a great performance on that, and then that would definitely open my eyes to going back, because that route means the world to me. You know a lot about it.
Well, if it helps, mate, it's not going to be me. I'm not going there anytime soon to be. So yeah, rest assured, certainly in this company, it's not going to be me. But yeah, so you'd go back if somebody had a crack at it.
Yeah, if someone broke it, then I'd definitely reconsider it. You know, I'd like to think every step I'm making, I'm learning something new, and not just learning new things, but letting things go as well. You know, things in races, different elements, mentally, physically, nutrition. So yeah, the Southern Upland Way was a huge success for me, and a massive step in the right direction. And since then, I've just managed to simplify my life, simplify training, prioritize health really, and yeah, I've had a really consistent 3 years leading up to the spine, I guess. A couple of wins. You know, I'm probably, alongside doing a 270-mile race, I said before, you know, 15 days before, I was 11 seconds off my PB going under 16 minutes. So 5K PB. So the variety in training's been amazing. And yeah, it's all led to the spine. And now it feels like the end of something, but also the start of something. So I'm excited to see what that next journey is.
That's amazing. It really is amazing time there, and the fact is that you're so good at different types of events and different types of distances, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I love a 4-mile fell race, and then I love a 300-mile Pennine Way run. It's running ebbs and flows in different ways, and you can settle in at different times. And I think if you've got the capabilities, you know, you don't have to win the 4-mile fell race, but if you can enjoy it and you can also comprehend running for 4 days, then you should explore every avenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And they say that, you know, something on the training side of things is variation, which it sounds like you've got in abundance, you know. In terms of the strategy that you might have used for the Montane Spine Race, I mean, what went into that? What was you thinking? Was it keep them in sight at the front, or was there certain kind of things that you know that you timing wise that you expected to get to certain checkpoints?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I dealt really well with having the race in my mind or in my being for a year, because obviously you have to book a year in advance, and I managed to really push it to the side. It wasn't mentioned. I wasn't speaking about it. And then at the end of November, I started doing a few more recce's, and December, and the weather changed, and it sort of came to my fore then, and I started dealing with with the mental side of it. I did believe I had the physical ability to run 100 hours maybe. And I've said that it was the actual mental aspect and my mental percentages which got me down to 84, 85 hours. So fitness-wise, I was ready to rock and roll. But like you just said, I needed to sort of break down the mental aspect and a game plan. I wouldn't say I had a race strategy. I worked with a local psychologist since Scotland, actually, and he's been absolutely incredibly. He's opened my eyes to a different world, a different dynamic of training. And I like to go. I go to see Steve for a physical, for like a physio session, and we talk. We take notes, and he dropped some keywords in there, and we started to work out a plan for the spine. And yeah, we tried a new technique, which is a psychological. It breaks down psychological barriers called havening. It's very popular for phobias or for, I suppose, addiction as well. And yeah, we broke down. He got into the area of the brain which makes decisions. And 2 days before the race, we tried it, and we were there. And I made all my race decisions 2 days before. I made the decisions that I would sleep in the snow for 8 minutes. I made the decision that the first 140 miles was just like a long run with friends. You know, I trained with Kim and Damien, and they're two massive inspirations of mine, two idols. And he made me believe that I could mix it with them for the 140 miles, get to Middleton, and then see what happened. So that was something that I believed I could do. And yeah, we sort of identified 3 or 4 race fears the Friday before, 2 days before, and I dealt with them in that room in a safe environment. So when the emotions came and those chemicals were flowing in my body, there wasn't a decision to be made. I'd already done it. So there wasn't like a blurriness or a fatigue. I'd already made those decisions, and that was absolutely vital going into the race.
That's an incredible approach as well, because I don't think enough has really kind of like touched on that in the past, you know, in terms of actually training the mind like that in that kind of way. But yeah, I mean, certainly running with Kim and Damien, I guess, you know, your friendly faces, that kind of thing, certainly going to break down one of the barriers, which is, you know, you're not kind of like pushing against, you know, people that you don't really know. You know them really well, don't you?
Yeah, and then having the ability to, you know, when I go into these sessions with Steve, which we'd never done before, you know, we'd never done this havening session, and he didn't think I had any, because normally you'd go for this sort of session if you had an issue, and it would resolve the issue. But what I was trying to do here is enhance a performance. So we had to dig deeper and find a race fear, which was, when you need to, can you drop to your floor, sleep for 8 minutes in the snow? If you make a navigation error, can you deal with it mentally, physically, get back on track and not let it eat you up? Don't put a negative spin on it. Yeah. You know, if an injury is persisting or an injury showing yourself, can you say the right things and get the right signals to your ankle or your knee or your hip to say, you know what, this ain't happening today. I'm in control. You ain't going to show yourself. And it worked. I felt bulletproof. I felt different, and I just felt in the moment. And yeah, I logged the miles, let the race evolve, and managed to stay awake. And yeah, that was that.
I did see you looked, your tracker looked so strong throughout, and as some of the race videos were coming out, and yeah, it was just the Jack Scott from the Southern Upland Way, just head down, and yeah, basically positive energy, you know, so really good. And really,
I'd like to just make a note on that, like Damien and Kim have, you know, and Ian Keith or any of the elite runners at the front, you know, they've got something I haven't got. They've got years of knowledge and experience. You know, Damien Hall's done the Pennine Way 6 times, I think, and amazing times. Kim has got an incredible resume of results. You know, I had to do something different, and I had to advance something that could be done, you know, that you can't see. So that's why I charged the brain and changed my mindset, because I felt like I was maybe lesser of a runner, but if I could charge my mind and get myself in that headspace, I can actually gain on these people. And yeah, I mean, I believe that this havening would work, because I trust Steve with my life. I've always said that if there was someone holding a rope and I was on the end of it, I'd want him, you know. And I went in there with the ability to soak things up, and I do think that gave me an advantage on the runners who are more experienced and better than me.
Yeah. I think it certainly strikes me that, you know, you become even more focused, you know, and it is about that focus and dealing with those, you know, adapting. In terms of, I guess, really, because you now do your coaching as well, so I guess you've kind of seen it from a different perspective, you know, your approach to running as well, because you're assessing yourself as well. That side of things, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, so after Lakes, Meres and Waters last winter, I decided to expand on the coaching business, which I'd sort of started in lockdown, helping family, friends get the most out of their hour a day outside when we were all locked away. And yeah, I expanded it, and the people I deal with, it's amazing the relationships I've built, and I learn off them as well, even though might be at a different end of the spectrum to me or a different moment in time. And it's made me assess my own training, and I think I've just got it right for a year, and it's very satisfying. Yeah. And yeah, I do like to preach. I've got a philosophy in training, but also in my mindset. I like to preach to other people, even though I'm young and I'm still learning myself. I like to put myself in their shoes, and I treat everyone the same. And it's been amazing listening and learning off people who are at a different end of the spectrum or a different moment in time. Yeah, it's been incredible.
In terms of one of the important things I think that you touched on there, as well as stresses, you're minimising the stresses in your life, and that might be through the gambling or this or other things that are kind of going on. That is really, really important if you're going to achieve a goal. Certainly, something like the Montane Spine. How important has that been for you in your training and over the last 3 years? Reducing those stresses.
Yeah, I mean, a simple clean slate is what everyone wants. It's difficult to create, and you have to let people go, and you have to say no to things. But I just want to be with my wife and my dog now. I just want simple, and I don't really want to. I want to have a coffee in the morning, train in the afternoon, and go bed early. I've just managed to simplify my life, and I get my thrills and my highs from running now. But that doesn't necessarily mean a race win or a race result. It can be like tomorrow, I'm going for a little plod along the canal with my friend Hugh, just 5 miles, nice and easy recovery, and that'll be amazing for me. Just anything, any adventures outside, fast, slow, something in between is superb. Yeah, and just the art of movement and the joy of movement. And I think having the option to train, that's what I wrote a post on Instagram last year. Enjoy the training, enjoy the feeling, and the imagination you get in your brain, because race day can be brutal. And I learned at UTMB, I physically got ill. I was the fittest I've ever been. And I DNF'd there. And it was really difficult for me. And for the spine race, I printed off a piece of paper with, you'd have seen them in Scotland, similar trigger words and trigger things. And similar to that for the spine. And there was a few pictures of my wife and the dog and my mum, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and me on the wedding day with Jess. And then in the corner there was a picture of a selfie I took actually at UTMB. I was on the DNF bus, and I just put the picture in the document, and I just wrote underneath it, this can't happen. Like this isn't even an option. Don't be that person again. And it didn't even get that extreme at the spine. I was in the race and my mind was on it, so I was blessed. It's been superb.
Fantastic. The spine. Can you go through the event from your perspective, basically from the start to the finish?
Yeah.
And then that would be great. I think it would kind of shed a lot of light in terms of what you kind of went through and how your approach was.
Yeah. So me and Damien led the race out. Eugenie came with me. Kim came. Dougie was close, and James as well. They've both had amazing results the last couple of years. And I was just in a zone of just enjoy where you are. If you can ask yourself every hour, every 90 minutes, am I in control? Have I eaten enough? Is my kit working? I'm quite good at dealing with time. And I looked at it like if I did 100-hour race, that's 100 hours for things to go well. It doesn't have to be in the pain cave. Can you look at it as 100 hours of opportunity, not 100 hours of restriction? So I was ready to go long and see what happened. I've dealt with the sleep demons before, and they came later on. So we dropped into Hebden Bridge. I was about 15 minutes behind Damien and Kim, I think, and I recognised early that their gait was a little bit too much. So the first night I ran about 100k on my own. I had the fitness to run with them, but I wanted to stay in control of my race. So that 15, 20 minutes grew to about 40 in the end. But that was difficult, that first night, even using sort of my race experience there to say, you know what, you're in control of your race, let them go, stay in control. And that feeling was more important than being with them. So that feeling I had of this is me, this is my race, 50, 60, 70 miles in, was more important than being with those people 15, 20 minutes further up the trail. Dropped into Hawes, had a little lie down, 5 or 6 minutes, had some food, had some calories. The weather was stunning, snowy, beautiful. And then I thought, right, Dougie had just come into the checkpoint. I was leaving 5 minutes later. And I was in podium place in third. And I thought, right, let's let's open the gap up Great Shunner Fell and my mindset was, let's take credit out of Dougie's bank and put it in my bank. Let's open up a gap, see what happens. Because Dougie, I love the guy. He's like a tractor. He'll never stop. He will get to the finish. He'll grind it out. He'll find a way. And physically, I'm faster than that, but I needed to control the other elements of my run to stay away from him. So all the way up to Tan Hill, it was like, right, take money out of their bank, take money out of their bank, put it in your bank. And I managed to do that. I got to Tan Hill and I got in the checkpoint there. It was just going dark on the Monday night, I think, about 120 miles in, and Kim had dropped out. So the race dynamic changed a little bit, and I had a long downhill, and I was thinking about race strategies. Yeah, I got to Middleton. Damien was there, and then the race changed from there. I suppose, you know, I was in a podium place. I was 2 hours ahead of Dougie, and yeah, the race changed there. And that's when I managed to turn it on. I guess I was willing to rough it. Slept at Middleton very limited, and the chase was on. I slept twice on the trail between Middleton and High Cup Nick, just on the floor, set my alarm in the snow. I really think that was an advantage, because I was physically falling asleep on my feet here. It's 150, 160 miles in, dropped into Dufton, had another lie down, a good feed, and then yeah, the chase was on up Crossfell, which the conditions on Crossfell were extreme. I've never been skiing or snowboarding, and I've never seen snow like that. And yeah, my mindset was let the race evolve and find a way to stay in it, stay awake. And I've said before that I think the spine race, it will do what it wants with you, and you've got to be versatile and have an open mind and just be positive, stay in it, and don't look for a way out. And yeah, I dropped into Ulston, and yeah, the chase was on again. I skipped to sleep there. By this point, I think I'd slept for about 90 minutes. We went up and over Hadrian's Wall. The sleep demons came there. I remember being propped up on the wall, slept for 4 minutes, I think. I'd made a goodwill gesture a bit further up above Greenhead, helped a guy out, which gave me 8 minutes back from the nav error, which I'm going to explain now. So yeah, we leave Hadrian's Wall, which is a really interesting, difficult area. I'd recce'd that bit, and you can't get momentum there. It's very, very strange, and everyone struggles there. And if I did go back, it would certainly be an area which you have to second guess, because it is difficult. So we drop over Hadrian's Wall into the forest, and that's where I make a navigation error. Previous to that, the diversion, I'd done the original Pennine Way in training, but it was really churned up in the forest. So we went the long way round on the forest road, and all the road was frozen. It was like an ice rink. And I remember I went through the ice, got a really wet left foot and left leg. And then I remember about 5 minutes later, I had to one of my super sleeps. So I curled up in the snow, and I woke up after 9 minutes, I think. And I woke up and I was like, wow, like my leg is really cold. Like if that sleep would have been half an hour, there would have been a problem. And I just want to emphasize here that I did have the kit to stop, put my sleeping bag out. But I mean, I was in the middle of the race here. So it was a case of literally drop to the floor, get the sleep in, get up, get going. Got to the diversion point, pulled my phone out, and my phone was orientated like, so this is the phone. My phone was orientated like that. So a left-hand turn looked like a right-hand turn on my GPX. Turn left, 500 meters down the road, and then realised the only tracks here are fox and deer tracks. Checked again, pulled out my phone, and it was square on. It was facing north this time. Realised my mistake. So yeah, that was a difficult part of the race. I was frustrated, but again, let the race evolve. Don't create a negative vibe. You're 215 miles in here. Things are going well. So I drop into, there's a micro checkpoint a little bit later on, Hornistead Farm. And luckily there's a race official in there, spine race official. So I emphasize the fact that I know I've made a navigation error. Can you please contact a senior member of the team just so they know that there was nothing sinister there? And people, I've had messages since from a lady in the checkpoint who were DNF, and she emphasised the fact that I was in control of my race. I wasn't delusional, and I did report the fact I'd made a nav error. Yeah, and then we up and over into Bellingham. Got in there, Damien was asleep. I had my navigation error explained to me by Kev, who's a senior race director. He went away, gave me some figures. So it was 48 minutes minus my 7-minute goodwill gesture. So Damien had 41 minutes on me then. And that, you know, I was sorting myself out whilst all this was going on. I was tending to my feet. I'd eaten. I'd changed my gear. I'd charged what I needed to charge. And then Kev came back and, yeah, I was ready to go. And I asked how long Damien was sleeping for, and they couldn't tell me because that's the race rules, which is fair enough. And I also asked, are you going to wake him up to tell him I made the nav error? And they said no. So I was like, right, okay. So I FaceTimed my wife, and this is my race highlight. And I explained the situation. I think it was 6 a.m. now. It was dark outside, and she was in bed with my little puppy. And I explained the situation. And she says, "Oh, right, okay." She says, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think I'm going to go for it. I think I'm going to try and open the gap. And my body wants me to do it. Something's telling me to have a right go." And we discussed it, and we were smiling. And just to be in that situation, so deep into the race, and be in control, and have the race experience and race knowledge to actually be like, yeah, let's have a go. And the body did. And my fastest miles were from 240, no, it can't have been 225 to 240, my fastest miles of the race. It was incredible. And then I made the race decision, dropping into Burness. I know Damien had woken up then, and he was moving well after a longer sleep, although his alarm didn't go off, so it gave me a little bit more room. And into Burness, I had to just reassess because I was struggling with hallucinations there. Because obviously, the only thing the 41-minute time penalty did was it made me skip a sleep, basically. So I was planning on probably having 3 hours sleep in the whole race. Instead, it was 2 hours 20. Dropped into Burness, and I'd highlighted this as an area where if Damien stops here for half an hour, max stay half an hour at this checkpoint, then that's half an hour I've got back if I skip it because of the time penalty. But it wasn't an option. I was dropping down, and the hallucinations were really bad. And I had an epiphany that, you know, I'm 28 years old. I'm in an amazing position here on this race. You know, if I go up to the Cheviots in this hallucinated state, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. So I dropped in. I had some food. I had a chat with the staff there. I didn't sleep there, but I just reset a little bit and accepted that maybe you got to live to fight another day. And that was a nice experience as well, you know, just to realize where I am, even on so little sleep. And I smiled to myself and be like, yeah, you got 27 miles left. Let's go up the hill into the snow. I wasn't expecting it to be as severe as it was. And yeah, then Damien caught me, and the race, the rest is history, I guess. But there's a couple of key moments there that were amazing. Definitely speaking to my wife. And then that, just having that realization that you've had an amazing race. Like, don't ruin it now. Don't be greedy. Be patient. You know, finish this race off the best you can, but don't go for glory. And that was that. The only thing I told myself there is you've got to get under John's time. Like, there's got to be something you've got to aim for if you're going up this into the hills now. And that was that, getting under John's time, and that's what happened.
That's amazing.
Sorry if that was a mouthful.
That is exactly what it's all about, really. We need to know as much details as possible. And, you know, I can say that, you know, when it comes to just like race directing side of things, and you're being up for 3 or 4 days, the decision making is incredibly difficult at that kind of stage. So I completely get it, you know. The kind of teaming up with Damien towards the end there. How did that feel? How did it feel looking beside yourself and seeing Damien Hall?
Well, I mean, I know he's had his say, and don't get me wrong, there was a couple of times on the Cheviots in the snow where the downhills I was nailing it. Like, I was like, I didn't think I'm gonna like, he's got to work for this if he's gonna win this, the old bugger. Like, there was nothing like that. Yeah, I mean, I was running downhills hard, and I was still trying. There was a little bit in my brain thinking, you never know, come on, what if something happens? Maybe this is your time. But the overwhelming feeling there is just, you know, so I was disorientated. I made a slight nav error 2 or 3 minutes off the trail, came back, and he was standing there. And I thought we shook hands, but I think we had an embrace. I think he said he hugged me. And I just said, you know, you deserve it. This is your time. Shall we run it in together? Shall we get under John's time? Let's try and get down in the light. And one thing I will say is, he'd won the race there, so you know he's in a different mindset to me. And I'm trying to be an elite runner, so my mindset is like, what was the difference there? And he'd had a bit more sleep more recent, but he was composed and he was comforting to me, and he was in his element, like even that far into a race in some insane conditions. And that composure and that maturity is something that I want, and that hopefully I'll gain. And running with him there was important, and that's what I've taken from that. And yeah, I mean, if you'd have given me that race scenario, Wayne, on the Saturday morning, to be under John's time, not a million miles off Jasmine's time, running with Damien Hall, both, you know, innovators, dropping into Scotland and Kurt Yatham, I would have cried with happiness. So it was incredible, and a massive memory, you know, memories to last a lifetime there. My analytical brain, and like maybe it's the coaching, or maybe it's the fact I want to be a sponge. Like that's what I've taken. Like, yes, he'd won the race there. I'd not handed it over to him because he deserved it, and he'd had, you know, he was in the position to win the race. But like, what was the difference? And it was his composure and his fact that, like, right at that time, there was probably nowhere else in the world he wanted to be. Where for me, I was getting a little bit frustrated. My sense of humor was going, which is limited anyway. And yeah, he made it. He made the last 8 or 10 hours enjoyable and safe for me, to be honest, because the conditions were, I'd never experienced that. So yeah, I can take great comfort and knowledge from that. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%, mate. I think it's an incredible achievement for us mere mortals looking at it, mate. So we can see that Damien Hall's rubbing off on you if you've got a cup of tea while talking about the Pennine Way.
You're in my head now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess the next thing really is crossing the finish line and touching the wall there. How did that feel? How did it feel? All of the kind of like, did it sink in straight away exactly what you'd done?
No, it didn't. I mean, we came off the last hill, and there was a couple of runners with us who left us. I mean, Damien ran the final K together, and my Achilles was hurting here, so yeah, I was a little bit wincy. But we climbed the last hill, and he was reassuring me where it was. I didn't have a clue. I've never been up there. He'd been up there however many times, so he was reassuring me where it was. You know, we'll go over this hill, and you'll come right, and yeah, that's it. And I remember coming up the hill, I could see the tiny little settlement that is Kurt Yatham, and all the lights and the signs, and I could see a crowd of people. And my first thought was, oh, I'd love to have a family member there, or someone there. My mum, my dad, anybody. My cousin from long lost, I don't know, whoever. And yeah, we dropped down and we went over the finish line. I think just before I think Damien said, you know, enjoy this now, like, let's enjoy it. Because I'm like, right, let's touch the wall. And he's like, are you going to celebrate? You're going to snog the wall? I was like, no, I'm going to just touch it and then go and have a cup of tea and go to bed. Like, I'm fine. I'd had enough. But yeah, it was amazing. And the lights were there. And I saw my mum and my stepdad, and my dad was there. And it was emotional and amazing. Yeah, we touched the wall, and there's some pictures, and yeah, it's a special moment that I'll cherish for a very long time. And yeah, we went inside and defrosted. There's pictures of us both with our feet in steaming water because of the snow and the conditions. And yeah, just having my family close there was in all the hustle and bustle. It all just seemed to slow down, even though there was people running around all over. And I was just sitting with my mum, and it felt like the end of something. It did. It feels like the end of something. I don't know whether it's right in the wrong from 3 years ago, or right in the, not a wrong, but learning from that and progressing in life. And then, you know, your running progresses as well, and who you are and your personality changes and tweaks. And yeah, to portray myself in this race, I'm extremely proud of the time and the position and the feel. I can't explain the feel to people. Long distance runners, maybe. And it was the feel I had. It's just unbelievable. The body was there and the mind was there, and you're at the pointy end of one of the toughest foot races on earth, running with like your running hero, wearing the brand you love. Amazing, amazing, mate. Honestly, incredible.
It's all the boxes, ticks all the boxes. Just
It does.
on that, Innovate. How important has the support from Innovate been? And in terms of your footwear as well, was it one pair? Was it multiple pairs? Were you switching? How did that roll?
Yeah, I mean, I linked up with Innovate through after the Scottish run. I think Damien got in touch and said, congratulations on the Mike Hartley time, and what an amazing achievement, X, Y, and Z. And I think he might have pushed a few buttons with Innovate, and maybe if they were looking for a younger long distance runner, and they took a punt on me. They've given me the opportunity to talk about my gambling addiction and some of the struggles I've had, and how I'm on a journey that isn't straightforward. I remember I had a meeting with them, and we had a breakfast to talk about getting the ball rolling with being associated. And I said, my running journey is not going to be straightforward. I'm not sure what path I'm on. I love long distances, I love short distances. I just want to evolve and grow my personality and grow myself on the fells and on the mountains. And yeah, they've been amazing to give me a platform to communicate, and I'm extremely grateful for their support. And yeah, for footwear for the racing kit. So I started in the new Rock Light, which was fantastic. A little bit heavier than the original. So I think I did 110 miles in that, and they were brilliant. Damien wore them for the whole race, I believe. Second pair I put on for 50 miles was the original Rock Light, the G275, which Jasmine actually wore when she broke the record. I wore them to Middleton, but they were brilliant, but my feet were like ice blocks. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of snow was incredible. So I changed again to my favorite shoe, the Innovate 255, which again, I've won 4-mile fell races in them. And then I end up doing the last 120 miles of the spine race in them. So it's pretty incredible, the versatility of that shoe. And they were brilliant in the snow. And now my favorite shoe, and they're the shoe I finished in. And this might sound daft, but in fact, I never really thought about this. Like, I don't think I'll ever throw that pair of shoes away. Like, my mum took them off. So an amazing volunteer called Jerry actually defrosted my feet, took my shoes off, and my feet were in incredible condition. I mean, you saw my feet after the Southern Upland Way. That was bad. So, but this was different. They were fine, and they were new. Foot care is obviously essential. I was changing my socks every 50, 60 miles, drying my feet, making sure I took the time there, because if you make mistakes there, your race is over. All this zone you're in mentally, you're bulletproof. If your feet are gone, you're gone.
You're gone, yeah.
So that worked really well, and definitely something I learned. But yeah, that pair of shoes, they ain't going anywhere. They might make their way into the living room in a box, and they're next to the second place trophy. Maybe them shoes will stay for a long time.
Yes, Jess will have a doodah over her nose, kind of just to basically make.
Well, they've been washed. Like I said, my mum took them away. You give them a good clean, and I believe they're in the car. My wife picked them up earlier on, actually. So yeah, that pair of shoes is. Yeah, I never thought about that, but that's a special pair of shoes.
What she hasn't told you is that basically they're probably going to stay in the car, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen them yet. They're just in the car, apparently.
Yeah, it's just a cardboard cutout, mate. That's all, really. But no, good luck with that one. And no, it's brilliant. It's fantastic that you've got a memento there. That's what you want,
Yeah,
I completely understand
I'll keep them as a memento. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. The one of the things, obviously, in terms of the races that you've taken on, obviously you've had to carry all this kit, but for the Montane Spine, you've got more kit. You've got the worst case scenario kit kind of thing that you've also got, you're not traveling light in terms of what you're wearing. So you might be full head to toe, cover.
Any clothing, yeah.
Yeah. So how did that was that a battle in its, in a different way?
It was and it wasn't. I knew Damien would come in light. He's got more expensive gear than me. I think he's got an amazing sleeping bag, which I'm not sure if he owns it or a company sponsor him a sleeping bag. So yeah, I knew I wanted to not wear like a waist pouch. So I went for the original Innovate pack, 25 litre that Jasmine had used. And I quickly identified that although it's a heavier pack and bigger, I have space for shoving things. Like, you're in checkpoints and you're moving at speed, or even in the middle or towards the end. you need convenience, and you need to not worry about where things are. Like, you need your gloves and your food close. And I had them close. I had an Innovate hiking jacket on, actually, a Venturelight heavyweight one, and the pockets are huge. So in there, I had food, I had maps, I had spare gloves, I had a hat, I had a spare head torch battery, all in a pocket. So there was no faffing, and that made a huge difference. But the weight of the kit, for anyone watching this, and I know that might not be at the sharp end, but you don't care about the weight of the kit after Snake Pass. Like, you might fixate yourself on weighing stuff, and I got my stuff down to, I was training with about 7.3, and I managed on race day, I managed to get to about 6.2. But as soon as you're over Snake Pass, and if it's that cold, don't be worrying about stats and figures. It's all about how it feels and making sure you're safe. And one thing I'd like to say about the cold we had, I carried more gear because of how cold it was. Like, if it was damp and if it was 5 degrees in typical Pennine weather, my pack would have been slightly lighter. I had some really heavy duty stuff in there, gloves, socks, spare socks, which were heavy duty. And if it was, so we had good conditions, but I had extra weight on my back, which was a factor. But yeah, the kit's off the battle, and like I said, being blessed to be sponsored by Innovate saved me an awful lot of money, and also saved me an awful lot of convenience, and I'm extremely grateful for that.
Yeah. In terms of what's next on the horizon for yourself, what would you say is earmarked for this year?
Yeah, so I'm going to simplify training now. I'm looking at my phone there, so it's the 3rd of February now. I've got UTS 100K in May, which is always a brilliant event to be part of. I managed to win the 50K last year, which was fast and superb, and racing Snowdonia is where I go, not the lakes or the Pennines or the Southern Pennines. The Roaches is my home, but yeah, the Snowdonia is where my heart is. So I love racing, training there, just being there. So that should be fun. And I'm going to keep things. I'm going back to UTMB, but I want to gain more experience in the mountains high up. So I'm going to do the OCC, which is a short, fast race, 35 miles. I'm just going to simplify my training and focus on short, sharp. I know I can go to that place with sleep and with long distance. And like I said, my philosophy, is no junk miles. Don't get obsessed with stats and figures. There's a time and a place for that, but only when you're in peak training, for a 2-week period maybe. And just run to feel, and a rest day is better than junk miles. A rest day is better than easy miles. If you can train at race intensity and work hard and recover properly, recovery being sleep, nutrition, hydration, mindset, positive mindset, approaching training with a willingness to work hard, a willingness to learn, and the willingness to improve, you don't need to be running 5, 6, you don't need to be running 4 days a week. My peak training was 97 miles for the spine. Longest run was 47 in the snow with a pack. And 2 days later, I was doing, 1K efforts on my local estate in some bouncy Innovate shoes. It's just, if you've got the ability, and I don't know if it's my age or what, but I do enjoy training at race intensity on a Thursday, and then on Saturday I'll be in the mountains for 12 hours, and that's what I want to continue. I want that imagination and that adventure side of training to continue, and we'll see what happens next autumn, winter, and into 2024. But the next stage is short, sharp, get fit, enjoy it, and then reassess after OCC in September.
Incredible, mate. Aside from training and the kits for the spine, what would you say are the most important attributes for someone who was considering entering the spine or any long distance, 200 really,
Yeah. If you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to believe in, I was in a mindset where every decision I made was correct. I remember falling just before Alston, and I stubbed my toe, and it hurt, and I knew the nail was gone. But my mindset was that I was meant to do that right then, right at that time, and I was meant to slow down. I don't know, if you can get in a mindset where you trust what you've done, and you're on that start line, not because you're there because you want to learn and progress yourself as fitness and mindset, and just enjoy the journey and see what happens. If there's a time to take a risk, do that. and have your experiences through running. Believe in yourself, take your time, and then take some time after to just reassess, take a few notes, learn, and then on to the next one.